Thursday, July 7, 2015 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It's approximately 6:55 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams?
Here.
Councilman Maldonado?
Here.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Councilwoman Woolman?
Here.
Councilwoman Faircloth is absent because of her mother's illness. Vice Mayor Shelley?
Here.
Mayor Porter?
Here. Additions, deletions, deferrals.
Just like to ask for an executive session on London versus Davis, which is an auto accident case that Mr. Stanton would like to talk with you about.
Earlier in the day, the agenda was changed to take off 5 and 12. Is that correct?
Yes.
Item 5
5A and 8A.
Okay. Tab 5 and 12.
May I request that tab 13 be deleted?
Tab 13. Okay. Tab 13 is taken off.
Thank you.
Is it just me, or is it the speaker? Something's wrong here.
No, it's a little humming.
Something's,
There it is.
and I don't know what it is, but it's very awkward up here. So 5, 12, and 13 have been removed. Tab 1 is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 2, Mr. Manager.
Mayor Julio's going to take the next three.
Julio, go ahead, sir.
All right, Julio, I'll do it then. Staff requests the mayor and council authorize city manager to award bid number 201520, removal and replacement of rapid infiltration trench number 1 to the Redland Company in the amount of $129,000. This project is part of the City of Homestead's capital improvement plan. This bid solicitation was sent to 473 vendors and 1 responded. This project is necessary to ensure compliance with the regulatory agencies.
Any questions from council?
Move it, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Final comments from council. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 3.
Mayor, staff requests the mayor and council adopt a resolution for Trojan Technologies for the replacement of parts to the Trojan UV system at the wastewater treatment facility. Wastewater treatment facility special department account 431-8300-720-3130. Budget for fiscal year 2016, $130,000. This resolution is to replace the previous R 2011-0546, as Trojan is the sole source vendor for UV infection parts and is being submitted for approval prior to the fiscal year end. $130,000 was encumbered in fiscal year 2015 and will again in 2016. Per our instrument control technician, all parts have been purchased for this year. Reason for current balance. Resolution applies to exemption from competitive bidding sole source vendor.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Tab 2.
Move it, Mayor.
Second. Moved and second. Any final comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 4.
Mayor, staff requests Mayor and Council adopt a resolution authorizing city manager to accept and execute the agreement between the City of Homestead and Southern Corrosion, Inc. for maintenance services on the 3 elevated water tank towers at Whitcott Park, Harris Field, and Homestead Miami Speedway. Once executed, this agreement will renew annually for 8 years. Public Works, Water Treatment, Repair Fund, $149,405.
That's a big contract. 8 years at
Julio, you want to address that?
I don't think we should go without maintaining the water towers, but that's a big number.
Yes, and we'll bring this item up every year for the next 8 years for renewal.
Okay.
But it's an 8-year program, and that's, if we do it on a year-to-year basis and put it out, the price will be higher. We basically got a reduction in price by combining all the improvements and renovations that are needed on a year-to-year basis to make sure that we're basically going from tank to tank on a year-to-year basis to make sure that every year we're doing something different to a different tank so that they're following in a certain schedule. And it's an 8-year period that it takes to do all the requirements that DEP has in terms for potable water tanks. So at the end, that's how long it takes to do all the repairs, and then we would have to start again.
Okay. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. Julio, this is all internal stuff, correct? Internal?
It includes both internal and external improvements on the tanks.
But-
So,
And I know this is a little bit different, but at some point, we need to look at doing something with the one there by Harris Field. The paint's faded so bad that that looks horrible for the
well,
city.
this includes painting of the exterior also.
Okay,
Yes.
so that will redo the signage that's up there and all that?
Correct. It would
Okay.
paint over it, and then if we want to put another sign over it, we can decide what we want to put on there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wallman?
Well, Mr. Burgess, you read my mind, because that was exactly what I wanted to talk about. And I didn't know that it included the painting of the outside, but I think this is the time when, if you're going to put a slogan, if you're going to put a message that you want people to know who you are, what we are, the gateway, whatever it is, this is the time to do that. So, Mayor Porter, I am in charge of marketing, but, if you want me to meet with Begonia and Kate and manager staff, be happy, if we're going to be doing this, to come up with something soon. When are they going to be, if this contract is approved, when will they start?
They'll basically start at the beginning of next fiscal year, so we'll start at that point. And then what we can do is we'll work with the company so that they can schedule the exterior improvements because they haven't done one tank at a time, so we can just make sure that the schedule works so that we do it within a time that's to everybody's agreement.
So, Mr. Burgess, great minds think alike. And if you'd like for me to meet with them, I'll be happy to.
Okay, I didn't hear what you, certainly, yes. I would think that we should offer.
Oh, somebody's going to be doing it, so. it
Right,
doesn't
certainly, and I
matter.
think we should speak with the Speedway
I
as
do
well and
too.
say to them, we're getting ready to paint over your emblem or your marketing piece. Do you want to pay to put it back up there, or do we go to the Gateway City, to the Everglades National Park, or something to that effect?
Well,
So-
and they don't all three have to be exactly the same either. We can get the message, different messages across different locations within the city, and I think that's very important.
I agree. Okay.
What-
Mayor.
Let me get Mr.
It's okay.
Mr. Maldonado and
Thank
then
you.
Mr. Burgess.
Just in question, in regards to if we're going to make any changes, is that going to come before us so that we figure out what the slogan's going to be? And that's the company going to do that, or we're going to do it? I just want to be clear.
Through the mayor. To clarify, this contract just covers painting it one color. It's basically more for the purpose of protection and, corrosion protection, basically. It's for that purpose only. If we're going to put a logo on there, that's an additional cost. I remember last time we did it, I want to say it was around $15,000 that it cost to put the logo on top of the protective coating. They basically use the same type of paint, but it's on top of what it's put by this company to protect the tank from the weather and the conditions.
And is this company the company that would do the
Correct.
work?
They do
as
that work
well?
also. They
Okay.
do also
So
that,
it's an
yes.
additional service?
Yeah, they under their operations, they also include lettering and logos and those type of things.
But for what we voted on is just covering the coverage, everything else
It's
will be
just
separate?
for maintenance and protection,
Okay, so,
and for water quality on the inside.
okay, cool, thank you.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. And you bring up the point of the racetrack does have their logo on that one, and perhaps they would like to renew that, and then we could put our logo out there at the racetrack so that people that come and visit out there know what our brand is and all that too. So just a suggestion.
Ms. Wallman?
Yes, just to answer Mr. Maldonado, I think you know me better than that. I would never try to do anything without bringing something back to this council for approval and vote. So just so that's clear.
Mr. Attorney?
I was just going to say that I really need to review the racetrack agreement. It may be that within that agreement, they have certain rights, and it might spell out some, whether they pay for it, we pay for it, or whether they have a right to first refusal, so I'll have to check that.
And it rings a bell, because I think I looked at this when I first got here, and just want to recollect what the specifics are.
I think the comment, though, and the point is, we've got these water towers all over the city, and they're hugely visible from just about everywhere. And are we missing the mark by not touting, as we have in so many other ways, the gateway to the Everglades or a gateway to Biscayne or something to that effect? So I think it's a good exercise for us to go through as we're cleaning up and maintaining properly.
I was thinking home of the iconic attraction, but that's a discussion for another day.
Well, but that falls in line with where, the gateway city, So, do we get a motion on tab 4? Let's see. Ms. Wallman again?
Say, that I'd like to start these meetings immediately. So if it's okay with the manager.
absolutely.
And then I'll just let the manager put the team together that'll be working on it. And it's going to require some renderings and some drawings and some thought processes. If you have any ideas or thoughts you'd like to pass through the manager, then we'll be happy to look at all of those.
And a point too, what about art in public places? Is that a component of this, or how do they intertwine, or?
We'll check on it.
Yeah.
I think, we'd probably have to refer to James and see how, he's the one that wrote the language, and see if this would fall into that. But, I would suspect we had the ability to do about anything that's considered art. So that would be some of it. Now, whether or not just a logo is
Right.
what the committee would want to go for is a different idea of what they would bring forward, so.
And as we go forward, not stepping on anybody's toes, thinking that we're trying to go around anybody that's, already set up for that. But anyway, Madam Clerk, was there a motion? Is there a motion on tab 4? Moved and seconded?
Second.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am?
I just asked Mr. Burgess, and we're going to chair this committee together.
Okay.
And I think that would be good, because we're both thinking along the same line. So
As long as we're going to have to notice it,
I
no
know,
problem.
but that's okay. Be fun.
Richard, you'll keep us out of trouble.
I will.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Most.
Motion carries. Tab 6.
Mayor, staff recommends the mayor and council adopt the attached resolution providing a proposed operating millage rate of 5.9215 and proposed voted debt millage rate of 1.0100 per $1,000 of assessed value of ad valorem taxation for real and personal property within the city of Homestead. These millage rates are the same as last year's millage rates and to be implemented beginning on October 1st, 2015 and ending on September 30th, 2016 at a gross taxable value of $2,138,309,545. An operating millage rate of 5.9215 mils will yield ad valorem revenue at 95% for the city of $10,867,591 and $1,161,309 for the Community Redevelopment Agency, a total of $12,028,900 at gross taxable value of $2,138,309,545. A debt millage rate of 1.0100 will yield revenue at 95% for the debt service of $2,051,708.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
I know we got some numbers back that our property values have increased almost 9.5%, which is extremely good for us as a community. We're above the levels of most of the other communities. Now, that's going to have an impact on the individual taxpayer because our millage stays the same, but their values increase. But we can't afford to stay the same financially across the board. As the boat rises, we should all rise with it.
That's our belief.
And that's where we get ourselves in trouble in the past, is when we kept trying to reach a rollback rate where the city never was able to ride to get on that rising tide as the values of homes were increasing.
Even with this, you're still about half of what you were 5 years ago.
No, I certainly agree that, but again, we're keeping the millage rate the same. And
Yes.
it's the same for the last, how many years?
5 years, Julio, Carlos?
No, at least for the last 3 years. Before that, we were going back to rollback
Yeah, we were
rates,
going back
so-
to rollback. right.
Okay,
So we haven't had an increase in a long, long time.
okay. Any final comments from council? All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion carries. Tab 7,
Staff recommends mayor and council authorize the city manager to award bid 201515 Mayor Roscoe Warren Park Trail and Fitness Equipment Project to the lowest bidder, PE Services, in the amount of $156,070. This project is part of the city's Homestead Capital Improvement Plan.
questions from council, tab 7? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Final comments, all in favor? Aye. Tab 8,
Staff recommends mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to accept and execute the contract once it becomes available between the City of Homestead and Cultural Facilities Program, Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, for the renovation of Seminole Theater. The grant award is $500,000. This grant requires a match amount of $1 million. The city will use bond proceeds to match the grant. And Mayor, this is the one where we kind of encouraged our lobbyists to do a little extra work, and we thought in return for that good work, since they're bringing back the cash, we'll have some nice ceremony to recognize their efforts very shortly.
I'd like to echo your sentiment. We saw the email trails, they were really up there, both of our groups really up there pressing the flesh and covering us in both angles, and this is a really big hit for us to be able to bring this down, to be able to finish off the theater. And all the members of council that were able to go and lobby, awesome, to be able to get this money for us. Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tab 9.
Mayor, the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Natural Resources is requesting that mayor and council authorize the city manager to approve waiver of usage fees in the amount of $500 for the use of banquet hall at the William F. Dickinson Community Center on August 3rd. According to the city's code, Chapter 20, Section 20-11, fees and charges, city council set fees and has the right to waive parks and recreational fees by a majority vote. Mayor, this came from the office of, even though the letter has Congressman Rob Bishop, who is the chairman of the committee, this request comes from Congressman Corbello's office. They have a representative here if you have any questions.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, just a little clarification on the purpose of the meeting, because the letter is very vague. It just says that essentially the Committee on Natural Resources just would like to use it to have a meeting, but just some clarification on the type of meeting and the purpose.
Good evening. They have told me to contact Bill Ball if you guys have any questions. They didn't really give me any specifications, but I have his phone number here if you guys would like it, and his email that I can provide to you. And he would be able to give the details on the event.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because this is just, let's go on the consent, so that's fine, moving forward. But yeah, it would be nice to know what the purpose of the meeting actually is. So if you could maybe have them provide an email just to the city, just let them know it's to discuss item B or C or whatever happens to be.
Okay, thank you. I'll let him know.
Send it to the city clerk's office, please, and she'll send it to the rest of the council members.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Burgess, did you? Any other questions on tab 9? Was there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Tab 10.
Mayor, staff recommends mayor and council approve an amendment in the amount of $9,500 to existing purchase order issued to Downs and Associates for professional services related to project CP 0363 RFP 201506 for power supply resources. The original purchase order was issued in the amount of $24,000, and this amendment will bring the total to $33,500.
Questions from council? Mr. Burgess?
Explain to me the $9,500, please, and why it was overseen in the original.
Councilman Burgess, the work requested of the consultant changed, and they were asked to do some additional work. Originally, the work that they were doing was to assist in drafting the RFP for the power supply resources. and the initial scope didn't include review and analysis of the responses. Because of the complexity of the responses that were received, the vendor was asked to participate in reviewing the responses as well and assisting the evaluating committee. And that was not part of the original scope.
Thank you.
On the purchasing of power, correct? Their additional need is on the purchase of power?
No, they assisted in drafting the RFP. That was the initial scope of work. And once the responses came back in, it was deemed to be helpful to have additional expertise assist the evaluating committee, because many of the members of the committee did not have the understanding of the material that they were reviewing.
I can believe that because I saw that same material, some of it. So, Mr. Burgess, did you have any other question?
Well, I'm just a little perplexed here. If we're giving a committee to review stuff and they don't have any expertise or any knowledge of it, how do we know that what we're going to get is truly what is the best thing for the city?
We pulled resources from the city.
But he can't make up the board members' minds for them.
No, all of the committee,
So
we
how
have...
do we know that what they're reviewing and what they bring forward is the best thing for it? To me, it sounds like that committee is flawed to begin with what you said, that they had to have people come in to guide them along. So now when I look at what they present to me, I'm going to look at it with a different opinion and a different thought process than a lot of things where if it's that complex, I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I'm the only one that thinks that way.
I don't want to speak for the committee members. I did sit in on the evaluation committee meetings as an observer, and I felt that the material was very well explained to those committee members during the course of the evaluation committee meetings. And we did have Mr. Conkle on the committee. He obviously is a person with significant expertise. And there were a lot of questions that were asked over the course of the meetings. And we also had one of the system operators from our shop on the committee. So we did have members with expertise, but we also had members that had limited expertise in the area of electric utilities.
And the purpose for that really was we wanted a balance of ideas here, because the people involved with electric utilities have...
Well, they've been shocked. They've had shock treatment throughout their
So we
life.
just wanted to make sure there was enough balance, and I think we had a good committee. It was just making sure that everybody had all the facts.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Manager, you comfortable with this?
I wish we had known this before it was done, but, you know, sometimes this happens. I think the intent was to keep it within 24,000, and it looks to me like it got away from them, and they felt they needed to get it done, because as you'll recall, there was a pretty tight deadline to get this power agreement to you all, and so I think that their primary their focus was to get this thing to you as quickly as possible, and they were less focused on making sure they don't exceed the $25,000 limit. Because in essence, this was let out without council approval. It's $25,000. Once it goes above that, it triggers council approval.
Is there a motion from council? I'll move it. You got the chair, Vice Mayor. We're in it up to our eyeballs. Call it quit. Yeah.
Any discussion?
Ms. Waldman?
I can't.
You know what, just so it doesn't come up at another meeting on a more controversial issue, well, at the back of Robert's Rules, there's a particular section that deals with small committees, and the rule that we followed here is that the mayor does not need to relinquish the chair in order to make a motion. So I know that this is non-controversial, but it'll come up, 3 years from now, and somebody will say, well, Jeff gave up the chair on another item, so.
I didn't read that page.
I know, I did, so. But anyway, I just don't want to set any kind of precedent for that.
That's fine.
So I'm sorry to take it away from the vice mayor, but.
So I take it back, Vice Mayor. All right. Ms. Wallman?
No, I was just going to say that, over the years, we have had change orders. We all hate it when it happens. And, I think it's necessary. I don't think we're going to have a fair report unless we have this. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Tab 11.
Staff recommends the mayor and council authorize the city manager to purchase and install a replacement grounding grid system at the Ivy Electrical Substation. Total purchase cost is $34,900, capital project CP0261.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Tab 13? No. Been removed. I'm at the back of the book. Any questions, any comments from council? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mayor?
I'm sorry, Ms. Wallman?
No, I received a couple of emails, well, we all received a couple of emails about the, I will refer to it still as the bowling alley property. And I know that this is probably not the time or place to discuss it, but I've had a lot of questions from constituents, and I know I have questions. We were put under such a time crunch to make that contract happen that we actually had to have a special call meeting. I think it was a Friday night at 5 or 5:30 or something like that, because the crunch was on us to make this happen. Make it happen now, or I'm going to lose my franchise, or I don't have a chance. And I remember asking, are you sure you have this franchise in place? And the person said, yes, we are absolutely sure we have this franchise in place. So now I'm very confused, so I don't know if it maybe needs to be on the agenda next meeting, or if we want to address it now, or how would you like to handle that?
And this is in reference to the fact that the purchaser has been questioned on his ability to have the franchise, is that correct?
Right. We were notified, and I think I sent you copies of this. We were notified that the purchaser's approval at the state of Florida was being challenged by a competitor car dealer. And so that's basically what we know about it. I don't have the contract with me because I didn't know it was going to come up, but I believe that the contract itself requires them to obtain their license, their approval within a certain number of days. I think it was 150 days, but I may be wrong.
I believe it's like October 15th.
I think it was 150 days, something like that. So you would then, if they don't meet that, they probably would come back to us for some sort of an extension of that deadline. But I'll do at the next either meeting Wednesday, if you'd like. We could give you a sort of a status report of where this is. I'll have Gail Sirota here, and she'll go through it with you, and she'll be able to answer your questions if you would like more information. Otherwise, we could do it in writing, but I'm happy to bring Gail here for the next meeting.
I just don't understand why it was such an urgency for us to sign this contract. And I'm on the prevailing side here, so I feel like I can do this. But I just don't understand why it was such an urgency to sign, and I mean pressure, urgency. I know Mr. Mayor was out of town, and he even called in for the vote. Vice Mayor ran the meeting, but I think that's why no one put any time restraints or restrictions, because we thought the franchise was already in place. Am I wrong in that question? I'll just give you time to think
He certainly
about it.
gave the impression that he had everything locked up.
Yeah, so, all right, thank you, Mayor.
I'll have Gail here at the next meeting for under the attorneys, a report on the status of that and where the contract is and what we know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.